Good morning and good day to everyone. I'm glad to be here and have this privilege to speak to you. Whether you're joining us on the YouTube channel or you are in person, so to speak, joining this community, we're glad to have you here. I know that many friends are joining us from across the United States. It's wonderful to see all of you on Zoom, and I know some are joining also from Mexico as well as the UK. So we're glad to have you here. And my talk today, regardless of when you're joining us or where you're joining us, my talk today is called Heavenly Simplicity and What They Didn't Tell Us. My hope in sharing this time with you today is that you will hear something that inspires you or brings a solution to something that reawakens something that maybe you already know. Because I believe we already know everything we need to know. We just kind of need to be reminded of it from time to time. And so it's always a privilege to speak to people that have questions and are interested in growing spiritually. So if I smile a lot or talk too fast, that's why. I find the spiritual growth and the path very, very exciting. First question today is, how can we experience more power and joy in our lives? More power and joy in our lives. How do we get that? It's kind of challenging with all of the distractions socially and economically, being physical and human. There's so much that detracts from our power and our joy. And in what I'd like to share today, it's a finding of simplicity that brings us back to our natural power. It is a simplicity of lifestyle that brings us back to what is natural and wonderful and healthy for all of us as spiritual beings. And when I use the word simplicity, I know from previous experience, some people get a little bit worried in advance. They think we're talking about money. This is money. Ooh, it's so exciting, money. But we're not talking about money, getting more of it. No, we're not talking about giving up and using less, but living simply according to heavenly values. This is something that we will be talking about today. And I'll tell you that this is a dilemma for every one of you and me. We're very interested in our lunch, our medicine, our car, our physical well-being, and the clothes. We need these things as beings. And so we live in this constant dilemma, this challenge of wrestling, if you will, with the physical world around us, as well as the spiritual. And so how to find that balance. And I'll tell you how I got started thinking about this very specifically, about living simply. It happened a few weeks ago. And it kind of caught me off guard because I was meeting with a couple of my clients. I designed a house for them. I served as a project architect to design a custom home for them. And they'd been to times for consults. And we were talking at their site about their a second building and their garage and places to store things and la la la. And somehow I happened to say, well, I need that much space. I'm a minimalist. And with that, the client turned to me and looked and he said, you, a minimalist? I don't think so. I've seen your house. And I thought, oh. And it didn't bother me that much in the moment, but it gave me something to think about. I thought, oh, here is a very intelligent, respected person I like. And he, because of having been in my house, he says, I'm not a minimalist. I'm spiritual. I live simply. So I thought. And so for the next few weeks, I began to look at my lifestyle, my books, my clothes, 2 closets of clothes, my art collection. And I started to think, well, am I living simply, minimalistically? He didn't think so, but it challenged me to kind of take a fresh stock of how I'm living and where are my priorities. Having done that, I thought I already was living simply. I remember when I first moved to Japan, I was going for at least a year, and we were told that we could only take 2 suitcases for 1 year, take 2 suitcases. Ooh, I thought I was living very minimalistically. But that did introduce me, A, to the concept of living simply, and B, also to the Japanese value, the Japanese standard of living simply and minimalistically. Hundreds of years ago, they were doing what we now call modern art or abstract art, suggesting a little bit of nature or suggesting this or that with very little detail. So they understood about minimalism and living simply a long time ago. I did not. I came from California. I liked shopping malls. I liked the thrill and the option of having more and having something else and having extra, having a variety. Who could go on a short vacation with just 5 shirts if you can take 20? So I like variety, but as I came to understand it, part of this dilemma, this challenge of dealing with the physicality of everything around us is in our DNA. It's biologically inbred in us. Because as I mentioned, we need food, we need shelter, we need to be able to move from place to place safely. And through millions or thousands of years of evolution, our bodies are craving comfort, sustenance. It's built into us physically, biologically. We do need this and this. And as part of the survival instinct, which we still wrestle with, the survival instinct says more would be better than less. Would you rather have less food or more food? Same thing with protection or comfort. Which is better, more or less? See, so part of our biology, part of our survival instinct says you need more, you need to get more, acquire more. And even if we are spiritual, we can sometimes get distracted by the values of the world and the concerns and the pressure that says you need more, you need this, you need that. And that's where the second aspect that kind of predetermines us or affects us so much is the family and society. So the first one is biology or our history as humans. The second is our family and society that kind of breeds into us the ideas that more is better than less, that you need extra for a rainy day. And so we have these ideas, don't we, that 20 shirts is better than 5. I've seen shoe collections. I've seen shoe collections that leave me aghast. Really, one needs that many pairs of shoes? It's amazing. And I thought, by my moving to Mexico, I thought that was my grand test because in closing up my home in Florida and getting it ready for sale, I gave up about 90 or 95% of everything I owned. Moving to Mexico internationally is no small feat. And even taking 5% of what you own is a lot of work. And I gave up clothes, I gave up artwork, I gave up my favorite furniture, heirlooms, blah, blah, blah. I gave up so much to move. And so I thought, that does it. I'm a minimalist. I can live simply just because of my love for spirit and for humanity. But no. I've learned that I'm pretty much human, like everyone else. And so what are the ways that you have taken on extra baggage, taken on extra things that society or family or the biology says that you need? That's a great question for you to ask. We no longer live in a cave. We no longer have the fears and the concerns, literally, of the bear and the jaguar and the serpent outside the cave, or the marauding hordes over the mountain that will come kill us in the middle of the night. We live in a completely different and civil society. But some of those drives within us are counteracting our spiritual self. And so what are those things in you? This is the paradox that from our history saying You need this. You have to have that. More is better. But our spirit says, everything is mine. Our spirit says, there is no lack. Nothing's missing. I can have all that I want. So in our abundance theology, or theology right principles of abundance, counteracting the lack, our abundance says, everything I want, I can have. And I agree with that. But even in our principles of abundance and attracting and creating, what is it we need, and can it be distracting? Teaching abundance principles and moving away and healing from a lack consciousness is one of my favorite topics, one of my favorite sermons or workshops. But even in our abundance theology, what is it we need? Walk around your house after we are done with this video and look around and say, of what you own, what is it you need? And then walk around and say, what is it I have that I wanted? Because the pressures of society are always saying, one more. Oh, if you have this, people will like you a little bit better. If you own this or dress this way or have this, you'll be liked a little bit better. No. That's the paradox we wrestle with, is that we know we're not living in a cave anymore, but we still have that need to feel comfortable, to feel loved, to feel pretty or handsome, safe. And so challenge yourself by realizing what is it you really need versus what you wanted. And a solution for this is really this awareness, clear awareness to different. When we do that, and we are walking through the mall, which we're not doing a lot of during COVID, but just depends on the day or hour. When we are faced with, oh, would you like another one of this or another one of that? Am I responding or purchasing, taking from a lack consciousness? I need this because of this and this? Or is it a true need, like food and water and oxygen? And so awareness to differentiate between the two is very, very powerful. Since that client a few weeks ago said to me, you're not a minimalist, I've really been kind of watching myself. And even though he said that, a couple weeks ago, some of you know, I was on a wonderful, much needed vacation on the coast here of the Pacific coast of Oaxaca. And after you discover it, you'll never need the Mediterranean again. But there I was on this delightful vacation, and I was going through a small town back to the motel where I was staying, and I needed a couple things, including soap. And I happened to buy a bar of soap. I just grabbed it and took it back to my motel, and I opened it, and it was like a breath of spring air in San Diego, scented of lime or lemon. It was yellow. It was the very essence of lemon. It was the best thing on the planet. I loved it. I used it. And all of a sudden it became like the proverbial bee in my bonnet. I thought, this is the best soap I have had in a long time. It wasn't even expensive, and I had to have more. I was immediately fixated that if this lemon soap was so good, I had to have more. Did I need it? No. Did I want it? Oh, yes. Oh, yes, I wanted that soap. And just to preface how unusual this is for me, I'm not one that hangs out, obviously, at the beauty counter or the soaps and the colognes and I don't really care about that. I'm like the Navy shower, 3 minutes minutes and I'm done. That's it. But this soap like possessed me. It was so lemony and fantastic, and it was yellow, my favorite color. I had to have more. I drove back to that town 3 days later. I processed it. But 3 days later, I went back, and there they had strawberry soap, and they had lemon soap and orange soap and mango soap. Who has mango soap? I do. And so because the price was so amazing, the colors were amazing, the scent was amazing, I knew I had to have it. So here I am in a distant land on vacation in this little tiny shop in nowhere, and I take up to the checkout counter 10 bars of soap. And everyone's looking at me. And they think, this guy, this foreigner that fell out of the sky into our little sweet town buying 10 bars of soap, he must have lost it. And for a moment, I wondered if I had. But there I was. And taking back to my motel, these 10 bars of soap, it really kind of surprised me that I had such a response. But again, it was one of those mini lessons that challenged me to ask myself, am I really, truly living simply? Or have I bought into what the large corporations have told me? That if I am happy enough with my soap, your beauty products, this perfect lotion here and there, am I really going to be happier? Am I buying into what corporate messaging tells me? That if I wear the right shirt and I look the right way, I'm going to be liked or loved a little bit more. And so I realized that even as a part of the spiritual process, when we think we've done so much healing, when we think we've done so much work, we can still kind of challenge ourselves. Do we need that second box of cookies? Do we need this? Do we need that? And therein kind of lies that beautiful kind of solution I mentioned, that my needs are different than our wants. And what our spiritual needs are, and our basic needs just to live, is pretty simple. And what living simply buys us is in a beautiful emotional space. We have emotional space because the needs and the wants are less. The needs and the wants are real. And we become more focused on, in that space of spirit, we are more focused on what is important. And there's a beautiful parallel to that in planning a busy workload or a busy day, for years I taught people to do the most important things first, and everything after that will follow. And when you do the most important things first, the rest of the day is bliss, because there's no stress of that challenge, the problem that you already checked off the list. And it's the same thing with owning things and living simply. That the more we own, the more you have to maintain. The more you own, the more emotional energy, financial energy, maintenance energy goes into those things. We are not the world. If we have a soul, and this is our whole premise, we are more spirit than we are physical. And years ago, I was taking a ministerial leadership course with Robert Schuller, Dr. Robert Schuller of California. And he said something that made my ears perk up. I was a spiritualist minister practicing at the time and attending this amazing workshop. And we actually have him on record. And he was talking about, and he liked nice things, but he was talking about these attachments and these connections to physical things that buy up our emotional space. And all of a sudden he blurted out, he said, "We are not materialists, we are spiritualists." And I know he wasn't identifying with spiritualists, capital S, the way we do, but he was showing that beautiful dichotomy that we are not of the physical world. We don't have to be emotionally grabbed and stopped and challenged and by material things. But we are spiritualists with a spiritual focus. And so with that, we can see a beautiful appreciation for our Buddhist friends, our Christian friends, friends of many faiths, that when we connect on an emotional space, we have a lot going on. And then the second one that living simply allows us is the freedom from attachment. The freedom of resources, the freedom of time, the freedom of that connection that would weigh us down. And the third thing that allows us is with the emotional space we've gained and with the resources and the time and the energy that we've saved, we have more power. We have more power to live in our spiritual self, to say a word of kindness or prophecy or love at just the right moment. We're not the tired, beaten down, worn out person, for we are not physical. We are spirit. And when those encumbrances, those things that would weigh us down, have been offloaded, and it's a process that will take some time, little by little, to offload this and this that drains us of our power and energy, we will see that, oh, that natural power has been regained to occupy our spiritual self and to be spirit, to be that Christ consciousness, to be the Buddha consciousness, to offer peace where maybe it's not deserved, or to offer love to someone where maybe it's not so deserved in that moment. But being in our right space of the heart with that spirit connection, we have unlimited access to the God force that gave birth to us. And so I bless you, and I'm excited for your growth and my growth. I bless you with the knowledge that you are spirit in physical form. And that in living simply, no one's asking you to give up anything, but the rewards and the power to be on this process of giving up unnecessary things and to live simply will be a huge blessing for you. Thank you, friends and loved ones. God bless.